Thank you very much. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call the regular council meeting for Monday, November 24th to order. First of all, I want to welcome Councillor Jensen, who has joined us virtually, so you won't be able to see him. And unfortunately, Councillor Jordison won't be able to make it with us this evening. Before I start, it is an honor to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Algonquin-speaking peoples, represented today by the Songhees and Kasepsin nations. We're grateful to live, work, and play in this special place. May I have a mover and seconder to adopt today's council agenda, please? Councillor Ward and Councillor Olson. Any opposed? Seeing none, I'll move on. I do have one item to be released from the in-camera resolutions. The resolution is released from the November 10th in-camera meeting, in-camera IC 2025-80, which is the West Shore RCMP building project charter and revised MOU. Encourage the public to have a read. And at this point in time, I have a few messages today. First of all, I just want to thank all those that were involved with the November 20th inaugural fundraising gala for the Colwood Medical Clinic. This was for the acquisition of new equipment for the clinic. It was extremely successful. We raised 3 times more money than what we had targeted. I think we're going to net about $150,000 on it. So it was a phenomenal success. I'd like to thank all the sponsors, all the people that joined us, all the volunteers. It was just a great evening. The only problem that we had is that we could have had a lot more people, but the fire chief limited the number of people we were allowed to have at this thing. So had about 200 people at it. The second thing, I just would like to remind everyone that the Christmas in Colwood event in the Commons Retail Village of Royal Bay is this Saturday. It's the annual Island Equipment Owners Association Christmas Truck Parade. As you know, we've had this here for the last 3 years. It's been highly successful. It's sponsored by Path Developments. There's lots of activities, family activities they have lined up for it. And so just want to invite all the citizens to bring, when you come, bring some non-perishable item. It's going to be donated to the West Shore or Gold Stream Food Bank. The start time is 6:30 and it ends at 8:30. The third item is I want to bring up is I was a bit nervous on Friday. I had received a personal call from the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, the Honorable Christine Boyle. And I figured the call was I was going to be called up on the carpet because we've been sort of pushing away some developments. So I was sure that's what I was going to get heck for at this morning. And in fact, it was just the opposite. She did commend us, the city and council here for achieving our housing needs and provincially mandated housing targets for the year. One of the few municipalities that achieved that. So well done to everyone. So she obviously thanked us for doing our fair share in meeting the housing needs for British Columbians. The fourth item I have is I'd like to do yet another shout out to Pick Colwood under the leadership of Charlotte Gorley and her mighty team of volunteers. I think, Stefan, I see you there. I saw you walking around on the chosen road there on Saturday. I was going to join you, but my daughter wouldn't let me get out of exercising. She's, nope, that's poor excuse. You're going to go exercise. So I do understand you picked up 100 pounds of litter. That is incredible. That's way more than you guys normally pick up. But I think one of them was a toilet tank or something, I think. So the crew there, what it says on Facebook is that you work from basically Pelican Drive over to Briarwood Lane, but I saw you guys walking down even further, going towards Latoria Road. So it's made such a marked difference. So wow, that was a bad area. So it's phenomenal. So again, thanks to Pick Colwood. and Charlotte Gorley. Well done. And on that note, we'll go to adoption receipt of minutes. We have a mover and seconder for the adoption of minutes of the regular council meeting held November 10th, 2025. Thank you, Councillor Day and Councillor Grove. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, does anyone oppose? Seeing none, motion carries. At this point in time, we have, we'll go to public participation. We had no written submissions that were received prior to agenda publication. We did have 3 written submissions that were received after agenda publication and will be appended to the agenda following tonight's meeting. In addition, it will be available on the city's meetings website following tonight's meeting. Again, I'd like to thank the public, some very thoughtful submissions. I'd like to thank the public for their submissions. And at this point in time, I'll welcome, there are no people that are registered to speak virtually, and I will open the floor at this time for anyone that wishes to speak. Calling once, okay, Stefan.
Okay, like this. Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Stephen Doyle. I live at 108-644 Grand Rose Terrace. I'm here today to urge you to consider adding solar energy as a key component of the building retrofit strategy, which you'll be talking about tonight. In the past few years, I've been really fortunate to travel, and it seems everywhere I go in this world, doesn't matter if it's oil-rich Alberta or Scotland with all of its hydropower, rainy Ireland, sunny Portugal, everywhere I go seems to be pulling ahead of us in solar power. I check the data and it's not just my imagination. And so I'm forced to ask the question, why is this happening? And what can we do about it? I think the building retrofit strategy is an opportunity for this council to actually look at that. I know it has a lot of goals and I know we'll be talking about it tonight, lowering greenhouse gas emissions, et cetera. It seems to me though, it's pretty obvious. When we add this many heat pumps to the mix, we're going to be putting in a tremendous strain on our grid, especially during the summer months when we have cooling and when our hydroelectric power dams might be at their lowest level. And it seems to me that solar is just the perfect marriage. We get cheap, reliable energy just when we need it. Even if we don't care about the grid, maybe it's not our role. I mean, we all care about the grid, but if it's not our role to fix it or to look at it, I think we could send a very business-friendly signal to all the companies in this space, many of which operate in this area. I won't name any of them, but they are in the West Shore. They're all around here. And by having solar a key component of this plan, we're giving them a signal. Continue to invest, continue to innovate, hire people for those well-paying jobs, and hopefully it increases our tax base. I'm asking you to put it in this plan, maybe to look more carefully at that, and maybe other bold steps, maybe streamline permitting, maybe things like tax incentives. There's a lot we can do. This council has already proven that it can lead on complicated issues like this, and so I'm asking you guys to consider it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What he said, and a little bit more of a personal side to that. I'm Mary Allen at 3403 Ryder Hesdall Way. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the promotion of solar energy as part of Colwood's building retrofit strategy. In particularly, I'd really like the city to show leadership in promoting and supporting public information through online information or through some kind of workshop or other kind of information session. I feel that there's a huge curiosity about solar energy among residents, but many people are uncertain that it would work for them. We too were curious but concerned. The information we were getting seemed mixed. We were finally inspired to get an actual quote because of a discussion on the Royal Bay Facebook page where people described their own experiences. And once we had the facts, it was obvious that solar was the right decision. I think it would be so useful to have an information workshop with a solid discussion where reliable information is available and where people can share their stories. And I believe there's a lot of power in learning local experience and understanding what your neighbors have experienced. People hear anecdotes about costs. They fear fly-by-night companies, or they think rainy winters are a deal breaker. But our experience was this. It cost us half of what we thought it would to give us solar capacity to cover our current costs and plus a future electric vehicle. We got quotes from 4 amazing, helpful, recommended local companies, such that it was a very hard decision to decide who to go with. And now it's November and our solar production, even now, is making a dent in our hydro costs, and over a year with credits, it will cover them completely. In the staff report, council has the option to direct staff to return to council with a building retrofit strategy implementation report that includes an overview of solar energy elements. Please call it council. Let's make solar part of this. We have so much sun in the city. It's sad to make it go to waste. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, please. Public participation, second call. Public participation, third call. Seeing no other public participation, I will close the public participation session and move on to item 7, which is the consent agenda. Only 2 items on the consent agenda tonight, council. Items in this section may be voted on in one motion, and any member can request removal of any item for the purpose of individual debate or discussion. Yes, Councillor Day.
Just in light of the comments from members of the public, I'd like to request that 7.1 be discussed.
Okay, well, easily, we'll add that as 8.4 on the agenda. Okay, can I get a motion to for the one remaining item on the consent agenda, please? Thank you, Councillor Ward and Councillor Grove. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. We'll move on then. Thank you very much. Move on to new business. The first item is 8.1, the Colwood Waterfront Stewardship Plan Implementation Strategy. And I'll hand that over to Mr. Johnson to introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is the Colwood Waterfront Stewardship Plan. There is a recommendation. The recommendation to council is that council receive the October 2025 feedback from the Watership Steward Committee regarding the CWSP implementation strategy, and that council endorse the revised CWSP implementation strategy as presented at the regular council meeting on November 24th. And further, that council refer the following items for staff further review and reporting on the implications and feasibility and potential costs of planning action PA1 sediment nourishment pilot project, including clarification on objectives, scope, and expanded outcomes. Desiree Givens, our planner 3, is here to provide council an overview should you wish to receive it, Mr. Mayor, council.
Thank you very much. Desiree, please.
Thank you and good evening, Mayor and Council. So this next item is the Colwood Waterfront Stewardship Plan Implementation Strategy. It's a document that outlines how we move the Colwood Waterfront Stewardship Plan from vision into action. The plan or the strategy outlines action items, timelines, and departments responsible for each of the action items. And the purpose of this presentation is to summarize the feedback that we received from the Waterfront Stewardship Committee, provide response from staff, as well as provide clarification where needed, and to present council with a recommendation on suggested next steps. So just a little bit of a recap. The Waterfront Stewardship Plan was presented to the Waterfront Stewardship Committee on August 28th for a recommendation. On October 6th, council endorsed the Waterfront Stewardship Plan and then referred the implementation strategy to the committee for feedback. On October 23rd, staff presented the implementation strategy to the committee for feedback, and they provided the following items of feedback. So that includes ongoing committee updates, the clarification on the sediment nourishment pilot project, clarification on how the implementation strategy and the plan aligns with the city's biodiversity goals, a correction to the bus route that was referenced in the implementation strategy, and traffic calming considerations along Ocean Boulevard. So I'll review each of these items in detail on the following slides. So the first piece of feedback was from the committee was that updates be provided to the committee to ensure ongoing awareness and opportunities for feedback as the waterfront stewardship plan gets implemented. So staff response to this is that progress updates will be provided to council at major milestones, and council can decide whether or not to refer these updates to the Waterfront Stewardship Committee for feedback where it can be helpful to seek input or to provide information. But to respond to the committee's recommendation or feedback more directly, staff are recommending the following revision: that annual reporting be provided both to council and the Waterfront Committee. So the annual reports will include information on progress made towards the action items within the plan, including updates on planning initiatives, park improvements, and shoreline management projects. The next piece of feedback from the committee was clarification on the sediment nourishment pilot project. So they're specifically seeking feedback on the details, objectives, and expected outcomes of this project. So this is one of the items that staff are recommending be sent back to staff for further review and reporting on the implementation's feasibility and potential costs. This is reflected in the recommendation. Another piece of feedback that the committee had was requesting alignment with the biodiversity goals and measurable ecological outcomes. So the Waterfront Stewardship Plan incorporates a range of measurable ecological objectives. This includes salt marsh recovery, beach nourishment, riparian planting, dune restoration, and goose management, all of which can be measured over time, as well as can be achieved in partnership with local First Nations, stewardship groups, government agencies, and other partners. The committee also provided feedback that the bus route referenced in planning action number PA7 should be 60 and not 52. Staff agree with this recommendation and are recommending that council consider the following revision to correct that bus route reference. The committee also provided the feedback that the traffic calming measures be considered along Ocean Boulevard. The Waterfront Stewardship Plan incorporates many traffic calming considerations along Ocean Boulevard, and that's part of the vision for the boulevard. So the plan envisions within several of the sub-area plans, traffic calming measures, including narrower lanes, raised crosswalks, speed bumps, and a separated active transportation route. And in addition to this, staff have also identified a few additional revisions that are minor in nature. This includes adding a status column to the implementation strategy table, minor adjustments to some of the timing for some of the actions, making minor adjustments to lead and supporting departments. And this is also reflected in the recommendation that you see before you tonight. So the staff recommendation is that council receive the October 2025 feedback from the Waterfront Committee, and that council endorse the revised CWSP implementation strategy as presented in tonight's agenda package, and further that the planning action number 1, the sediment nourishment pilot project, be referred back to staff for further consideration and review. And I think that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thanks very much, Desiree. I'll open the floor for questions from council. Council Ward.
Thank you, Desiree. This is great. I think it's important with the resident-led committees that we hear their feedback and incorporate it into strategy. Looking more so at the plan itself, I just have a couple questions for you. I noticed it came up there as well. There was a point on dune restoration, and this perhaps was touched on at the committee level, but I confess I didn't see it. I've noted in the sub-plans that would be implemented if we move the staff recommendation here. There's close to $500,000 in funds earmarked for dune restoration. And I look at things like the riflery berm and think, well, it's not native to the lagoon. I mean, the whole name kind of gives it away. It was placed there for for the military to shoot at. And also, you know, a lot of the sand, you know, many of us have grown up seeing that as a sandy beach. A lot of that came from the well, last known as the producer's pit. You know, speaking to individuals in the community that have been here for generations, you know, family members speaking about, you know, pushing metric tons of sand into the ocean because it had little value at the time. And, you know, and that drifting down and forming the sand berms and things on what was a rocky peninsula. So I'm all for the ecological restoration and preserving this space for years to come. But I would think that the natural state is what we're aiming for here. And then I just question spending $500,000 on sand, I guess. So I'm just curious if you can maybe provide a little bit more insight as to why we would be replacing these man-made components in an ecological restoration.
Desiree?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Ward. So there are many benefits to using soft shore approach to like including dune restoration and bringing in clean gravel and sand into the area. I think hard shore approaches typically have more of an environmental impact, which is why the city was recommending a soft shores approach. So bringing in natural materials to help kind of fight against erosion and sediment changes due to climate change over time. So that's kind of the reason why dune restoration is included in the plan. But in terms of the budget, I'll defer to engineering for a specific comment on that. I think the budget is open to discussion through financial plans in the future, but it's not set in stone, and council will receive reports as the project gets implemented over time. You'll receive reports on specific projects within that, and it can be adjusted.
Thank you, Desiree. I'd be interested in hearing from engineering. I guess my only concern is that, you know, and I use some of the beach resorts I've been to as an example, is that, you know, every so often because of major storm activity and things like that, these sort of man-made sand features are swept away, and at great expense, they're kind of trucked in and replaced. And, you know, I'm just looking to see, okay, are we going to spend $500,000 on sand only to see it, you know, taken away in a winter storm somewhere along the way? What assurances do we have that this doesn't become kind of a bottomless pit of money? You know, the lagoon is an expensive spot already to the city. So perhaps through the chair to engineering, there's a way to cover that.
Thank you. I definitely cannot provide assurance that the sand will not be a bottomless pit that we'll never replace. We will experience king tides. We will experience various flooding events. The 500,000 really is earmarked for protecting certain areas and then providing a planting medium for their natural grasses, which we hope then will stabilize that sandbank with that rooting system and so on. So the sand is going to replace, rather than going in and trying to dig down and get rid of some of that stuff to stabilize some of that area. We definitely do not want to go down into the ground in any case out in that area. We definitely want to just stay up above and try to stabilize it through sand. So we are looking at different measures to hopefully cut that price down. Like we're thinking of barging sand in from another opportunity. We've got various feelers out in the community now to see if we can bring sand in through barging rather than trucking. The current pricing is through trucking. So if we're able to barge it in, we might see some savings there, but that's really an earmarked piece to figure out exactly how much we need. And part of that conversation when we looked at that project and pivoting back to the softer shore is that we will spend a little bit more on an annual basis on spot filling areas that do get subjected, but we hope the grasses, once they take, will provide that stabilizing force to keep it to a minimum.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. Appreciate it.
Just further on, while we're on that subject then. So John, have you looked at what they do up at Saratoga, Miracle Beach up north? They use those things that look like looks like you ever gone to D-Day, Juno Beach and all that? They have these things up there, but what I was told, it's a natural way to keep the sand in there somehow. I don't know how it works or anything like that, but they're there. Have you guys looked at that type of a solution also?
I'm with you. I have no idea. But Ryan Campbell, our lead on that project.
Yeah.
And Paul DeGrief, our project consultant, I'm sure are aware of that. And I'm sure they're using it as one of the potential strategies to help stabilize the area.
Okay, just, I thought I triggered that one. Thank you. Counselor Day.
Thank you. Knowing that nature is not static, just same as we are not, really, things change over time. Historically, my mother-in-law, who just passed this October, she came to the beach in the 30s and stayed in the little cabins that used to be there where they would come out, and she lived on the gorge, and they would change into their bathing gear and enjoy the ocean. And so there's been a lot of different uses over time, and it has changed quite a bit over different decades. But one of the things that I am very aware of is that we did an awful lot of dune restoration planting, and we had University of Victoria students out to do some tidal research, going out into the waves to determine some of the forces that were at work there. But one of the other things that I feel has happened is we've lost track over time of which plots of dune have actually been planted and restored. And so I'd like to be assured that we do have a record and a way to identify, if we can, both the areas that were previously restored through LC and the harbors and watershed programs with the CRD, but also going forward, any new dune planting that we get, because we tend to sort of lose track of things in this moving environment, and it's understandable but not desirable. So that's one concern that I have. Of the many beaches that I visit on this island, I go quite frequently to the end of the West Coast Trail, where it's a very similar dune environment with a river running down to the ocean, and a big bay. And in that area, it's very noticeable that the dune plants are retaining that sand so much better than any other methodology I've seen in spite of really big storms. That's, originally the rescue route for many mariners who were lost at sea there. And those same areas do change over time. There's been some major changes to the West Coast Trail, but the bay and the beach that's maintained by the First Nation there, the Hawaiian First Nation, it is retained by that dune grass. So I think it's kind of two sides of the same coin. Whatever we invest in dune restoration is going to reduce the potential costs for beach replenishment in that area as well. So I'd just like to make sure that we have an accurate way of measuring where and what is planted so that we can maintain and improve it over time. Do we have a system now?
Certainly under the construction document drawings, when we actually go out to tender, we'll have estimates for areas and then a planting area and a volumetric area. And that'll be paid usually under a unit pricing. So we'll have areas identified where the planting will occur. We'll have estimates on quantities that are expected to be planted. And then obviously afterwards, we'll have an as constructed drawing that'll outline that and survey that all in. So
Is it married with where the plantings have been done? Because there were several plots.
I'm guessing, and I wouldn't know at this level, I'm not that deeply involved in the project, whether we've actually gone out and quantified with a survey or not, what those areas are, but I'm sure that'll be one of the first things with regards to topographical survey is to identify areas that need restoration to determine what areas are going to be higher in planting and not. This is going to be a little more formalized than I'm guessing previous work parties were doing, where we're actually going to go to tender and have a contract as opposed to volunteer groups. So it probably should be a lot more documented.
They were, I guess, identified. I guess that's one of the reasons why we've kind of moved events away from the beach, because as more events were taking place, less protection was available for the planting areas in previous years. So um, I just really hope that we could put those two documents together, both what we did do and what we're doing now, so that we could compare, because there were different methodologies. And Royal Roads Gardens supplied a lot of the salt resistant plant material that was needed to go in there. It was a pretty large community effort over a sustained period of years. I would say there was probably 10 to 15 years of restoration work done.
Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I can appreciate the discussion. We've talked about this beach nourishment for the last 2 terms now, and just a question for staff. I mean, there was a lot of discussion about. This discussion seems to be more about the berm and the plantings. Can we speak about the actual beach nourishment? Because there was a lot of discussion about the armoring that had been done around the washrooms and how that was going to get remediated, and actual replacement of sand on the beach. I haven't heard that come up, and I'm not sure if this is part of this, but I believe we got a grant for like 600 grand, something like that, a few years ago. Maybe someone can help my memory along.
Staff, anyone?
Thank you, Your Worship. I wasn't prepared to talk about the construction project tonight, nor did I brief with staff. So some of those more particular details with regards to the construction projects and activities, I just don't have at my fingertips. I'd have to come back with some information.
Sure. Thank you.
I'll let that be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I just have a few questions myself here. I guess it's a great implementation plan. I'll tell you that. It's very comprehensive. A lot of thought went into it. I guess what I'm afraid of is are we biting off more than we can chew? Because right now, I noticed that with each of the items in the implementation plan, there is no cost, no rough order magnitude number. So I don't even know, even though you have a plan for when you're going to do these over the years, I don't know if they're viable, fiscally. So without having an idea, rough order magnitude, what each of these is going to cost, number one. But the second thing also is, do we even have the staff to do this? Because it looks like a lot of work. And maybe I'm dreaming a technicolor here, but I see a lot of work here. And I guess so I'm afraid from the operating and the capital side, can we do this in that time frame, especially when there's no costs? I know how we get hooked up and we'll approve a plan right now, and then the staff, rightfully so, would say, hey, I got my marching orders, so you go off and do it. And then we get this big price tag, and then we get sticker shock, and we're all going, oh, we don't want to do this. And we've wasted your time, to tell you the truth. I notice that happens a lot. So I guess my question is, do you have any idea, rough order magnitude, like to make this a better implementation plan to me and to see if it's realistic? That test hasn't happened right now, because I think it's, and I'm full of praise if you guys think you can do this in the time frame you can. I just don't think it's feasible, and that's just my humble opinion. And I don't know how you can do that without understanding what the overall capital costs and the operating costs are. So I'm just making a comment, but do you have any ideas at all?
Thank you for the question, Mayor Kobayashi. So the purpose of the implementation strategy is not to commit staff or council to specific timelines. It sets a general idea of when we want to accomplish these items, but they are subject to change depending on staff capacity. We do have a grant that I think has a timeline that needs to be spent before the end of 2028. So we are trying to accomplish all of the core components of the plan before the funding expires. But of course, funding can be adjusted, or the staff resourcing can be adjusted as needed, depending on staff capacity. But if council would like to see further analysis on how much staff time would be required to achieve this implementation strategy, we're happy to come back and report on that.
I personally would, because again, I don't want us to get stuck with everyone doing a 5-year financial plan based on something that it's impossible to achieve. So I personally would like to see, and that's the modification I'd like to see on this, to tell you the truth. And I don't know if we need a motion on that. Yeah, we do, absolutely. So I'll make that in a second. And just my final comment I want to make, and it made chills run up my back. I saw that word ferry services, and I don't know where that came from. We have, as a council, have never said anything about ferry services, and yet it appeared in this plan, and it gave me chills because we've never had that debate around the table yet. I'm not a big fan of it because I see big asphalt parking lots going up all over Colwood right now. So, and you know, I've always stood for not having that here, but that ferry service thing just threw me for a loop. Didn't think I'd catch it. I did read it. So, but it frightens me. What does that mean? I just don't want to condone something that we haven't had the discussions around this table to say, yeah, we're all for this, because we certainly have not had those discussions. And because we haven't, I don't think it should be in there until that discussion happens. So I'm not mad at anybody. I think it might have been from the last term, because we did talk about ferry services. So I don't know what the intent was. Any comments? Sorry, Desiree, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, thank you for the comment, and I appreciate that. So the ferry connection planning action came directly from the Waterfront Stewardship Plan. So it's an action that was identified in there, and it's not committing council to, it's just an exploration to see if it would be feasible to have a ferry service run from Colwood to Victoria. It's not suggesting that that will take place, but it's I think just based off of feedback that we heard from stakeholder and public engagement, and that's why I think it's reflected in the plan. But if council would like that to be removed, we're certainly open to that discussion.
Okay, so at this point in time, I got more comments here before I make a motion here. Councillor Day, please.
Sorry, I feel like I should let Councillor Grove go first, just because I did already speak once. I was going to make a motion, so.
Okay, Councillor Grove, and then.
Okay, well, thank you, both Councillor Day and Mayor. The notion is the plan. It seems to me we need to get started. We want to, this would come to us in pieces, would it? The spend?
I guess that's correct, through chair.
And to get the project going, that would be good. I understand, and I thought I was going to make a motion too, so I'll let you do it. But the notion that this thing has been grinding on, and even the fact that the ferry reference is in there, I think speaks to the length with which we've been pounding away at this plan. And we're at a place now where something has to move forward, whether we spend it on money on sand or on ferries. I think that gets dealt with down the road, but I'd be happy to see the ferry reference disappear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Day, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that the plan be revised to remove the reference to a ferry service, and that it be brought, no particular timeline, but that it come back to council with an update on the source of funding, because we do have a grant, and I heard Councillor Jansen speak to not remembering the terms of the grant. So I think we could use a refresher on that. And then some more detail as to the phasing and timing of the spend of the grant monies, because I do believe that was 100% grant, but my memory could also be faulty. So I'm sure that a report coming forward would help council to be back up to date with a plan that has taken probably 10 years to get to the point we're at here, not just if we only start counting from when we started seeking a grant. So my motion is to take out the ferry reference and bring back a report to council to identify the financial and phasing choice points.
Can I slightly moderate, just, and the person hours that's required to do this? Okay, perfect, thank you. Seconder, okay, thank you very much. Councillor Crowe seconds it. That was a friendly amendment, by the way. Okay, I'll just wait till she gets her. Okay. Okay.
As well as person.
Yeah, the level of effort, right? Man hours, I don't use that word anymore. Person hours. Yeah, person hours. Oh, yeah, that works too. Yep. Okay, all right.
Can I just read that out for Councillor Jansen because
Okay,
he
I
can't
will
see it?
I'll open the floor for questions or comments on the motion, please. Councillor Jensen, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'm sorry, I don't have the ability to have reports open and my screen going at the same time, but help me out with the ferry service. That was a popular item that came forward from the previous council, and certainly something that's probably the most often asked question that I get in the community. Like, are we removing any and all reference to the ferry?
No, I didn't say that, Councillor Jensen. I'm
Okay,
state
so
this right now. That is never come in front of the council for debate about whether we want to do this or we don't want to do this. So I don't want to pre-assume something right now that's a done deal. By no means.
But I guess are we backing ourselves into a corner, Mr. Mayor, by removing the language and any, sort of from this document? And is the public going to perceive that perhaps, that future ferry is off the table by this change? I'd love to sort of know how that fits with the document before us, which I fully support, by the way. So
I understand what you're saying. I just don't want to refer to it because I just don't want it in here when we haven't debated it yet, whether we wanted to do this or not. I clearly, I'm on public record as saying I'm not a supporter. So yeah, I could be convinced though, if it was in the right place, the right, the right economics, absolutely. And in fact, I have someone coming to do a presentation to me. So I'm open, but I don't.
I just think that clarity is important because I can just see the black press headline tomorrow saying, ferry canceled. So just that clarification around that item, I think is important.
Canceled because we never ever said we were going to do it in the first place. But I just don't want to, like I said, presume that we are having a ferry service here. And I don't know what everyone's feelings on this. I'm just being open and honest about this. And when we have that debate, absolutely, we can amend anything that we want.
Thank you for the clarity, Mr. Mayor. And, I'm going to support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ward.
Yeah, just quickly, I wanted to support your comments there, Mr. Mayor, on the subject of the ferry. It's not that I think anyone at the table, certainly I only speak for myself, but would oppose it in concept if there was something viable that made sense and proponents came forward. So with regards to, headline in the newspaper, if they're listening, that's not what we're saying here. I think myself, as well as yourself, was not a supporter at the last election time of the ferry. I was a proponent of LRT as a more viable strategic transportation system for this region. And importantly, the pre-feasibility study that was done on the ferry did not support it. 11 out of 12 of the models that were run demonstrated that it was essentially a pipe dream. And that's without all of the costs of infrastructure and the heavy levels of funding to be required from multiple levels of government, cooperation with the beachlands property owner, and as you said, turning prime residential waterfront land and tree space and other things into parking lots. So as it stands today, I think the ferry proposal is one that doesn't make sense, but importantly, we haven't had that discussion here. That is a remnant from previous council. So I would like to see it removed, just so we don't see staff take the direction that this is something they should work on. We see that with other plans that were carried over, such as active transportation and the transportation master plan. And unfortunately, and this is a bit of a soapbox, it leads to things occurring in the community and things that continue to happen under previous planning models, which are then reflected as, oh, well, this must be what council wants to see, when in fact they aren't. And that's been a source of frustration for years for me. So in this case, I think taking it out heads that off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other discussions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to 8.2, which is VMP Cairndale intersection and VMP road widening design services. Mr. Johnson, please introduce who will be discussing this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the Veteran Memorial Parkway Cairndale intersection and Veteran Memorial Parkway Widening Design Services Award. Josh Andrews, our head engineer, is here to provide council with an overview. The recommendation contained within the report is that council award the contract for the provincial and optional engineering services on the Veteran Memorial Parkway and Cairndale Road intersection project and the design of Veteran Memorial Parkway Road widening project for the amount of $296,402.50, exclusive of GST, and that council authorize the mayor and the corporate officer to sign the agreement for services contract with the proponent for this work.
Thank you very much. Open it up to questions from council. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think for me, I have some concerns first and foremost with the title. The subject here is VMP Cairndale intersection, which, as we know, council supported, and I think is widely supported by folks in that area. I think we all know that that intersection needs improvement, but now we've tacked on VMP road widening design services. So I understand that there's a lot of money available with this grant, and it would seem to me that this has been sort of a take the approval on the intersection. Oh, this money stretches further. Let's get a piece of VMP done in conjunction with this. And, at this council table, not so long ago, we elevated Machosen Road to be the priority for the transportation master plan, that we wanted to focus on that as a corridor and not the outdated model that says widen Latoria and widen VMP. And frankly, this is anecdotal experience, but VMP doesn't need widening today. It's something that should be done long-term, but right now it's generally servicing most of the development that's happening in South Langford. In terms of volume, the only time you get any sort of backlog on there is at peak time, and generally only going up the hill southbound because of the light we've installed at Allendale. So it really isn't a scenario that requires a lot of work, and yet now we find it before us as this expanded scope project to begin the work of widening VMP. And it's a slippery slope for me. I feel like this optically, and I say this because I've heard from a number of members of the public who have said, what happened to Machosen? What happened to that being the priority? Here we go again. So I've had no end of comments for a couple of days, ever since this agenda was published and this was made public, from a lot of people saying, like, the staff just do what they want to do, and what council suggests as a priority is not a priority. I mean, I'm just relaying what I have, and I can share the emails with staff. So it's a little bit frustrating that we went from let's put in a traffic light to resolve an intersection to let's start phase one of widening VMP, because that's the perception, and perception is reality, unfortunately. So I would like to understand how we got to this point in such short order here.
Staff?
I think I'll take this one, Your Worship. Certainly, when we started looking at this project, we came back, I think it was last budget meeting about a year ago now, when we were in the midst of doing a budget then. The staff came forward with a new cross section for VMP, and council said, well, let's pump the brakes on this. Let's take a look at it. So we came back last spring with that new cross section for the multi-use path down Veterans Memorial. Since that time, what we've seen is that there's lots of grants out there for that active transportation kind of corridor stuff. So the intent with this design for the widening, and I agree about the 4-lane of VMP. It's a decade plus away for sure, at a minimum. So it's not the intent to build the widening of Machosen. It's the intent to design the MUP to get it to a place so that we can apply for grants. If we get lucky and get this $4.8 million grant, then it's, you know, we don't have another place to spend it. We don't have another opportunity to grab it. So we just thought we'd utilize it. You'll see in the report that at the bottom in the table, we've broken out all the elements with regards to the costing. So if council is uncomfortable with that road widening aspect and wants to just say, you know what, we understand there's a grant, but you know, the money that the council or the city would have to put in addition to that, we're not comfortable doing that because Machosen is the priority, then we can lessen that amount by looking at the amount for tonight. It's 148,412. So we can drop that off of the 296, make this meeting tonight about the rest of the works and service that needs to be done. And we can come back and have another discussion during budget discussions to have that done. I will note that on December 8th, just to speak to the frustration of Council Ward for a moment, staff is bringing back a report with regards to work that we have been doing behind the scenes on Machosen. They get set up to do the corridor study that was asked for through the resolution that we had back in August. So we have done a bunch of work in the background, and we're coming forward with an information update with regards to what we've done to date, what we found, and how we're going to move forward. So you will see a progress update on Machosen as well in the December 8th council meeting. I hope that helps, and I can answer other questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. I think that answers some. The other point I'd make, and this is just maybe a note for future, is that at the previous meeting where we voted to go ahead with it, the question arose, why not a roundabout at this location? You know, the explanation was it wasn't feasible. Today I asked for sort of formal reporting to indicate that, and you know, to your credit, I received that, that we had an external report that indicated that yes, a roundabout was the less feasible option there. I just think moving forward in a situation, you know, if we're looking at a controlled intersection in future, I think just as a matter of you know, just standard approach, we should include any of those external reports for transparency purposes, because I did again have a number of members of community say, well, did you even look at a roundabout? How can you prove that? And it's not just about me, but I think in terms of overall transparency to the community, if there's people out there wondering how we came to a decision, if we have formal reporting that we've bought and paid for, that demonstrates that one option is more viable than the other, let's include that in the agenda package and in the information so that, you know, the folks that are interested in the community have that answer. And then there isn't that sort of, you know, questioning behind the scenes as to what the agenda might be or whether or not the work was done. So I do appreciate receiving that. And I'll take into consideration your note about breaking it out. I do see that, you know, for me anyway, I don't want to hold up signalization at Cairndale and BMP. I think again that neighborhood really wants it, but some of the other work I think is kind of a want, not a need, in my opinion. But thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dick.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that clarification, because with the fine print of the chart, I definitely didn't notice that the optional wording there. But in looking at it holistically, adding the intersection there is really important. But as I did mention when we were talking about the transportation plan before, it's a very short block before there is the other intersection at Marianne on Cairndale. And I'm just wondering if any work that would be covered by the grant could be included for that transition piece between Marianne and the intersection with BMP on Cairndale.
That was the intent in the application is to make the overall project. The application process would include the entire project. So that would be the work back to Marianne Place and then the work heading up towards Haida as well. So they would be included. If council's uncomfortable with the size of that scope, and we can pare down this scope. The original intent when we first looked at this 3 years ago when this got onto the 5-year financial plan was to just do the throat of the intersection, which basically just brings it back to just get out of the turning lane. So when you build a left turn lane into something, you bring it back. So we would have gone halfway down or maybe 2/3 down towards Marianne Crescent and then stopped, and then we'd try to tie it in some kind of interim fix or whatever. And so it started getting real close to the intersection. So we thought, once we're going down that way, it makes sense to just maybe finish it off. But and I understand council's desire to spend those funds perhaps on the chosen. So if you're uncomfortable with the scope and heading up Haida and trying to bring the sidewalks and the bike lanes in it, and again, the intent was there's kids coming down there, provide that connectivity with regards to pedestrian and cycling and all of that stuff. And we're starting to head up to, by the time we put the left turn lanes in, we're getting 20, 30, 40 meters back from the intersection. It started making sense with Marianne Crescent. You get back 40, 50 meters. It's only 100 meters down the road, tying it back in. So that's how it kind of crept on us. So we're thinking we're out there, we're working, we've got the design started, we've got traffic control in place, all of these economies of scale that start us thinking, hey, so we're not trying to pull one over on you. We're trying to just realize best value that we can with regards to the intersection. And most of that work was done prior to the resolution with regards to making Metchosin a priority. So the wheels were kind of already set in motion, but we're pretty flexible that way. We've got a budget just coming up. All this does is change timing. So if council's uncomfortable with where this is heading, we can wait till January. It just pushes everything a few months. It's, again, it depends on, where you put this intersection and the signalization in there, but we can pivot, we can change scope, we can do a lot of things here to get a level of comfort for council. If that's where you want to go tonight, we can make that happen for you. So by all means, we want to make sure that what we're providing you is what you want to see today. So whatever that is, let us know and we can make that happen for you.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just want to ask for one last question, and that is, these are design services for the intersection, I believe, and it's definitely only designed for the widening scope part. I'm just wondering, are we going to get to see what is being recommended prior to it being implemented from this point forward?
Typically, we would design it and build it as long as we had the funding. But if council would like to see us add a step in there that once we get the design, we come back and show council exactly what their dollars are going to pay for before we do the construction piece, we can certainly make sure that that's part of the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grove, then followed by Councillor Jensen. Councillor Grove.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have a degree of trust with the staff verbally working through this material in past meetings, and I thought we were moving toward what is presented here to us tonight. That was my understanding. I'm quite confident with it. However, I'm willing to support whatever motion ends up out of this discussion and would support anything that starts to move this forward. The intersections, dangerous cars are traveling at high velocity, and we really need to fix it quick, is my opinion. And we need to move that forward now. Metchosin Road, ironically, is so congested that the safety level has increased. I think that's been reported. The RCMP have no issues with those. Lagoon Metchosin corner, for instance, as cars are traveling slowly, and that reduces the level of injury. I've been up there with Cairndale and VMP enough, and it's concerning to me, and I think it's time we fix that. If that ties in with other layers of work, design, or otherwise, if there's efficiencies in there, then I'm all for it. Whether we need to wait and have spend more time drawing that up for me to see is another question. I defer to the engineering discussion that we've had about it and meanwhile. And I'd also, and then one more thing, I'd like to speak to the notion of the priority of Machosen Road, as I understand from the traffic workshops and other events that we've had around the subject, that we had Machosen, Latoria, VMP, and Sucro. There's a big rectangle there that needs to be dealt with. I think Wishart cutting through Cairndale's obviously come up as busy roads, but we have to somehow balance the work to make this traffic solution happen as moving forward. I think it's more about a balance rather than this idea of incessant notion of a priority, meaning done first, focused only. We need to talk about all the aspects. And I would be willing to make this recommendation here moving forward, but I'm sure there's amendments to it. But I support whatever we end up with, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Just going to remind council that there is no motion on the floor right now. So I was just trying to get everyone to restrict your comments to questions right now on the information provided until we get a motion on the floor. And then you can make all the comments you want. Councillor Jensen, please.
Thank you, Worship. I would move the staff recommendation. I'm happy to motivate if you're prepared.
I'll come around back to you, Councillor Jensen. I think I have Councillor Olson who wants to ask questions, I believe. Councillor Olson, and I'll circle back to you, Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was prepared this evening to support the staff recommendation. I would be happy to look at if somebody has a way of separating this, separating the road widening from the staff recommendation. I think it's really important that we see our way through to the other side on this tonight. We have, and my understanding through the chair to engineering, we have been communicating to the community that we are proceeding with this light treatment. I've seen emails that have gone out to residents of the community, letting them know that this project was indeed moving forward. It has been a contentious issue, and it is a safety concern. So I just think it's really important that we get through to the other side, and I would like to see this move forward. So again, I'd be interested to see if anybody has a motion on the table this evening, but I just wanted to state just my view on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Jensen has one first. He said he stated first, and if we defeat it, we'll come back to you. Councillor Jensen, go ahead and make your motion, please.
Thank you, Worship. It doesn't make sense to visit this stretch twice. Next thing you know, in a couple of years, we'll be going out to tender again to get some more engineering done. I do not want to see this done in a vacuum. I hear the sentiment of Councillor Ward, a reflection of some of the literature that I've seen as well, but we can't just ask an engineer to simply look at the design for the multi-use path and that intersection really without a fulsome look at that stretch of road, the road width. I think that's nonsensical, quite frankly, and I think it would probably cost us more to circle back and try and do that on its own, a few years from now. So I say do it once, do it right. Let's see that stretch. Let's see how it connects up the hill to Haida and down to Marianne, and also how it fits with the multi-use path and a future, not committing us to, just like a ferry, the 4-laning. Let's just see what the engineering looks like. I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
So you are recommending the staff recommendation. I'm just reading this. Okay, a seconder. Okay, Councillor Grove. Open it up for discussions. Councillor Day, please.
I'd like to move an amendment to remove provisional item 2 from the recommendation. Everything else I 100% support.
Second. Okay, Councillor Ward seconds that. Do you want to motivate Councillor Day? Yep, I sure do.
So I'm motivating in that there really is only one taxpayer, and we're getting a grant, hopefully, to do this work. There's $150,000 of that grant that we're not going to use right now. So I really think that it's wise, reasonable, and just to do the design that we need to do and ensure that we do install a light and address the safety and other concerns there, and leave for the future what is fairly straightforward in terms of the road widening, given that the entire roadway was built with a plan to move to 4 lanes eventually.
Thank you very much. Council Ward, do you have anything to add as a seconder? Please.
Yeah, I would certainly obviously seconded the amendment and agree with Councillor Day. I respectfully disagree with Councillor Jansen when he states that, you know, we would do it now rather than punt it down the road, that it would cost more, etc. We could be talking well in advance of a decade down the road when we look to widen VMP. It could be 15 years, it could be 20 years. There could be a significant change in circumstances. The province could extend their ownership of VMP. Langford could come to the table. We don't know what the future holds. But ultimately, if we do choose to widen VMP or somebody chooses to widen VMP in its entirety, the design services would fall under the scope at that point in time. So, you know, using the logic of, well, let's do it now is worth it. We could do that for the entire corridor. We could do that for Latoria. We could do it for Souk Road, the whole square, as Councillor Grove said, but it's not logical to do it that way. I supported the safety improvements at VMP Cairndale and still do when we voted on it last time, but I'm really not interested in beginning first stages of widening VMP when it's wholly unnecessary. And these are real dollars we're playing with at a time when, you know, we want to try and kind of restrain some of the spending. People are tightening their belts at home, so we should be looking at the same thing here. And again, focusing on needs, not wants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I will pipe in right now with my 2 cents. I will. You stole my thunder, Councillor Ward. I feel exactly that way. You know, I know sometimes we do things just to, you know, with the benefit of trying to get it all done and saving money, but because this is such a long time away to me, I would say a minimum of 10 years away. And, you know, I just, this is why I have a hard time spending that money right now. And it is tight right now. We're asking this whole city hall to start squeezing things. And here we are. And I'm not calling it frivolous because it is not, it's spending that has to be done, but it's such a long time away from me that I can't see that. The main thing is get that intersection up and running. I agree with that. So this is what this is going to accomplish to me. So I am going to support the amendment. Any other discussion points on the amendment? Okay, I'll call the question. Those in favor of the amendment? And those opposed? Okay, that's Councillor Grove and Councillor Jensen. So the amendment passes. Okay, go back to the original motion as amended. Any further discussion on the original motion as amended? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor on the original motion as amended? I can't see you, Councillor Jensen. Are you okay with that? You're with that? Okay, so that motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Might be one small amendment needed to be made.
Oh, Councillor Day, what did I miss?
Just that the overall amount is less now.
Oh, yeah. Good point. It's 146,000 less, right?
Yeah.
John,
Thank you, Your
please.
Worship. You also want to remove that portion that says road design for the road widening.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Can we just do that on a friendly basis, everyone? Just to save time? Okay, you okay with that, Mr. Johnson? Perfect, thank you. Let's move on. I think I'm going to take the health break a little early here, just for the next 4 minutes before we get on to code of conduct. Thank you. take her out of recess. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to my favorite subject, 8.3, Code of Conduct.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the Code of Conduct for Council's consideration. The recommendation is that Council adopt the draft Code of Conduct and that Council Code of Ethics Policy number COD 001 be rescinded. This is for Council's consideration and feedback.
Thank you very much. I'll open the floor to council for questions. Okay, seeing none, I will, oh, sure. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what this is for. Councillor Olson.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I was just curious, and maybe I'll put this question over to our CAO, what the anticipated process and timeline was for appointing a fairness advisor. And just curious to know how council will be involved in the selection criteria of the said financial advisor.
If council adopts this policy, we'll be bringing forward another report with the consideration of appointment of that person. The person that we'd be recommending to council is somebody that council has met with previously, Ms. McDonald, who actually also had a copy of this code of conduct and provided her input into it to bring it forward to council. That would be council's appointment. So that would be coming at the next meeting once this is considered by council.
Okay, thank you. So it was just the one person that we were potentially considering for fairness
For
advisor.
the remainder of the term, yes, rather than going out for proposals, council is aware of this person. They've done the work on help on the code of conduct. The fairness advisor is intended to run with the term of council, so it would be up to the new council to go through that selection process moving forward in the future. From an expediency standpoint, it would make sense to have that person involved with this moving forward, but that's council's choice and it will be in the report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I was also pleased to see this come forward, and I really appreciate that this represents an external look at how things will be handled. It's very much appreciated from someone who's been through the trenches on this, that it really does need to be independent and have a good turnaround in order for everyone to feel comfortable. I was prepared to make a motion, but I see that Councillor Grove also wishes to speak. Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, I just have one question and I'll let
Thank you. I'll just second.
So is the intention then, is it your intention that we all sign the code of conduct?
No, it would be a policy of council, so it would apply equally to all members of council, given it's a council policy.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I will look to the floor for a motion. Councillor Day, I think, and Councillor Grove, second.
Moving this stuff.
Discussion. I'm just going to say I am elated. This is a major accomplishment for this council to have a code of conduct. First code of conduct in the history of the city of Colwood for council. So congratulations, everyone. We did it. We did it. We did it. Thank you very much. And on, oh yeah. And on that note, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. It's unanimous. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jason. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you very much for making this happen, because we struggled with this for the last 2.5 years. I can tell you that. Wow.
Your worship, if I just might, this was a coordinated effort across staff within the organization. So I don't want to take credit for something that a lot of people had input on, and particularly with council.
But no one can get us across that finish line, though, Mr. Johnson. No one. You did it. Thank you. That's all I can say. I am so relieved. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 8.4, which was 7.1. And if I can get you to introduce, well, actually, we'll go right to, we know what this is all about. It was on the consent agenda. I'll go straight to Councillor Day, because I think you had the questions, Councillor Day. Go ahead, please.
It was really just in regards to members of the public speaking tonight, asking for, sorry, I had notes here, so let me get them
Solar.
moved up. Just asking for ways to share solar opportunities in a workshop or online, and a way to share their success stories within the community, because we have done that before with Solar Colwood, and there still remains a lot of people who haven't heard those good stories, and there was a lot of good stories with Solar Colwood, and I continue to see it in the community that there are certain preconceptions about solar uh, gathering that aren't easily answered, or that people may not have faith in the things that they see written somewhere. Whereas if they see someone who lives locally near them with a successful endeavor, they're more likely to look into it. So ways that we could build on our past success and help achieve savings and comfort.
Carolyn, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, through the chair. Yes, we appreciate those ideas for case studies and workshop opportunities. We have outlined in the report some of the ways that this program already would incorporate solar energy, but the case study concept is already drafted in the web changes that we're working on right now for the program and the outreach program. So that's certainly intended to be part of what we're looking at. We could certainly add additional education or support if council sees things on this list that maybe doesn't touch everything you hope to achieve. We can come back and let you know how we can incorporate new ways to provide outreach for solar energy, or we can the option 2 with the motion options provided the opportunity for maybe staff to have a chance to implement the first phase of the program, give you a little bit of a report that includes an overview of how we've incorporated solar energy, and maybe give some more further direction to staff if you'd like to expand that. So those are some ideas and responses to that feedback from the public.
Great. One of the points that was made was how many of the local businesses are providing these solar services. And I just thought they might make good partners without endorsing any one business, but maybe to invite an array. I won't pick a number out of the hat, but a number of companies to participate in some sort of a workshop, so that residents could get up close and personal and get some real world ideas of what it would cost and how long it would take and all the questions. Thank you.
Good with that, Carolyn? Councilor Grove, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I have a question about solar ready's already in the code for building in Colwood. I think it's in the solar ready building. And I think I've seen more of that with the recent development applications for that and the EV ready parking spots, but it's particularly because of solar. And the mention today, does that just mean the empty conduit from the electrical panel to the underside of the roof membrane?
Yes, that's right, through the chair. That was a provincial opt-in policy, if I'm not mistaken, that City of Colwood hopped on, and then we do implement. So yeah, you're right, it is an empty conduit at this point.
So it's a very small element in a way from a builder's point of view. And I've already talked to solar people, since they often run the little wire around the soffit fascia board and down the side of the house to avoid any need to penetrate the roof anyhow, which kind of means that every house built always has been solar ready the way they're doing it now. So there's an opportunity now to add new technology as it comes, always seems to be at a great heightened pace these days. So I think, Carolyn, you just mentioned something about opportunity to be able to add to the strategy as we go. So I think that would be important to keep that open simply and in mind, simply because technologies seem to be rolling out rapidly, and the prices making things more available means that technology that already exists suddenly becomes available, which really it's kind of like inventing it all over again. So just a comment really, and I think that did you make the recommendation again already? We're just accepting this, I think, for information tonight.
Yeah.
And I would move that we do that.
So I just need to actually a motion to, for the staff recommendation right now. Because we.
Correct. Yeah, I'd make that motion. So
Thank you. Councillor Day seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, bylaws. 9.1. Mr. Johnson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have the fees and charges bylaw number 1603, 2016, amendment number 5, Schedule F, development permit extension fee, bylaw number 2090. It's going for first, second, and third reading. It is an amendment for fees and charges bylaw for DP extension, and Kelsey Felden is here and available should you need any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I open it up to council. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff time is money. I think this is a really good initiative from staff. I support it, and I'd be prepared to move the staff recommendation.
Okay, we'll move on. Councillor Ward moves it to Councillor Day seconds. Discussion? Seeing none. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Next, please.
Thank
9.2.
you. Colwood Land Use Bylaw number 151, 1989, amendment number 226, 2025 omnibus amendments, bylaw number 2089, 2025, and it is for adoption.
Okay, motion please. Councillor Grove, Councillor, I was going to call you Councillor Jordan, Olson, please. Sorry. Discussion? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. Next, please.
Colwood Main Sewer Local Area Service Establishment and Loan Authorization Bylaw 598, 2001, amendment number 177. It's for LAS enlargement for 521 Mount View Avenue, and it's for adoption.
Okay, motion please. Councillor Ward and Councillor Grove. Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. There being no further business, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.